Today on This Week in Music, our guests are Ken Casey of Boston's Dropkick Murphys and the manager, Jeff Castells of Dangerbird, a management company, label, publisher, recording studio. So stay tuned.
I feel good, even though I shouldn't. I'm chilling so hard, couldn't tell you where the hood is. I'm looking like $1,000,000, sucker.
So what do I do?
There's money behind this operation. You won't be paid as a regular cop, but there's a bonus involved. Tax-free. We can't conceal that you were a trainee. You'll be convicted of a crime. We're thinking a guilty plea to assault and battery would make sense.
Given your nature?
You'll do enough jail time to convince anyone this is no setup. You'll be on probation, see a court-ordered shrink, the whole 9 yards.
You want to serve the Commonwealth, this is your chance. We need you, pal. You've already pretended to be a Costigan from South Boston.
Every weekend, Sergeant.
Perfect.
Do it again. For me.
Hey, you Billy Costigan?
Yeah, who wants to know?
Well, not. I know a Sean Costigan down on L Street.
That's my cousin.
Connected. Not too bright.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, no offense.
That is a classic use of music in the opening to a movie. That's, of course, a scene from The Departed, featuring a track by the Dropkick Murphys. And Ken Casey from Dropkick Murphys is joining us today, along with his manager, Jeff Castells. So Dropkick Murphys, in case you don't know, Boston band has sold more than 4 million albums total. 600,000 of those have been on their own label. Their last 3 records have been on their own label, Born and Bred Records. So thank you guys for joining us to talk a little bit about what you're up to right now. So you have 2 sold-out shows at Fenway next week?
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
You guys have done a lot with I mean, Boston generally, but let's just talk about the Sox for a second. Like, how has that come about? How have you guys managed an affiliation with an actual baseball team?
You know, it's funny because growing up in Boston, it was totally unforeseen that anyone would ever have a rock band at a baseball game, because it was such old-fashioned ownership. And then they got the new ownership, and they came to us and they said, "Hey, we'd like you to do a kind of a remake of our old fight song, kind of from the turn of the century." And lo and behold, the year we remade it, they won. And that, when you haven't won in 86 years and you ask a band to get involved and you win, you know, kind of some might brand you the good luck charm. That's what I did anyway, but I don't know anyone else. And then they asked us again in 2007, and they didn't ask in 05 or 06, and they asked again in 07, and lo and behold, they won again. So.
Well, you know, so yeah, I mean, there might be some truth to that, but a little bit of luck for you as well. What you're saying is the luck probably runs the other way.
You know, I mean, I'm a really superstitious guy. I actually think it's a little bit to do with the song, because it's kind of a weird coincidence that the fan base supported the team. These a lot of Irish immigrant guys that would get down and bang bass drums and sing at the other team. Like, you could go literally right down to the bass line then, and would ultimately intimidate the other team, and they would sing this song. And when Babe Ruth got traded, these fans kind of threw in the towel on the Red Sox and stopped singing it after 1918, and they didn't win for 86 years. So who knows, whatever it was, we're happy that we got the call to do it. And, you know, it's been a great partnership. I mean, you know, my ass is in the seat there every time that, you know, they didn't, I think when they asked us to play, they didn't take into consideration how much they'd have to deal with me freeloading around the park after that. But it's been awesome, and it's a great way to, you know, get you, when you're a band like us, it's not mainstream per se in the sense of, you know, radio and television and you know, some of the glossy magazines. It's a good way to get, you know, in front of like real people. And I don't know what it really did in the long run selling records, but it's funny because New England, Boston, the Red Sox are it, you know, and I always say like a good analogy for it is my grandmother, no matter how good we were doing, we could be going around the world playing to 3,000 people a night, and she'd say, but when are you going to finish college, you know? And the minute we did anything with the Red Sox, I never got asked that question again, because that's hitting a home run, you know?
Right. Well, it seems to me that you guys have really, you know, sort of taken advantage of being the hometown heroes, and they've embraced you, you've embraced them back, and made that a big part of, you know, a big part of your business. But there's other parts to it, including what we started with, which is film and TV. So I'll talk more about that, but I want to introduce Jeff before we get too far down the line. So Jeff, I mentioned Danger Bird. Danger Bird's a pretty unique beast in this day and age in the music business, and that it is kind of a full-service shop. When you and I first met, you were a manager, and now we're in this place where there's this, you know, power shift from labels to management, but you've actually kind of embraced the whole kit and caboodle and have label, publisher, studio, and management company all in one. How'd that come about?
Completely by accident. I kind of got sick of being a manager and dealing with even independent labels. The label that you and I met when you worked at a label.
Yeah, when we met in 2000, I was at Grand Royal, and you managed one of the artists who was on the label.
And it was like great label, great people, and they had a tough turn of events and went bankrupt.
Yep.
And everybody gripes about the major labels and this and that, but my thing was I could never get something over the hump, even on a small label. So after managing bands for 12, 13 years, I decided, well, if I got a little bit of bread and signed a couple bands on my own, maybe I could do it. And I had really no idea whether I could or not. But I took my turn at it, and it turned out that it worked out pretty well. And
well, how did it work out? Like, tell us what some of the successes have been.
We signed Silver Sun Pickups when they were just a local LA band. And we've ended up, over the course of an EP and 2 albums, selling about 1 million records worldwide. And now they're in the studio doing their 3rd album, which will come out through Danger Bird next year. And they've had, you know, #1 modern rock hits. They've toured all over the world. And when we signed them, they probably could have sold out a club in LA at the time if they didn't play for a few months. And so we're proud of the fact that we've been able to do that with them, with Seawolf, with Darker My Love. Now Fits in the Tantrums, we're having a nice hit with them.
Yep.
We've managed Eagles of Death Metal for a long period of time. We just came aboard as the Dropkick Murphys managers, and great job. It's only been 3.5 weeks, so I'm lucky.
Honeymoon period. Call me in a couple months, dude.
Well, yeah, you're right. But what we do is we embrace our management artists with the entire label staff. So when you and I met, I was a dude with a cell phone, right?
Yeah.
Like the guy in Entourage. I was like a guy with a cell phone.
Well, Mimi worked there.
Right, that's true. Oh my God, I forgot about that.
I skated at Mimi's house with John Silva a few weeks ago, but that's another story.
So we embrace the Dropkick Murphys, who have a big worldwide business, with our 10-person staff, which to some people is a label staff, but for them it's a management company staff. And when you look at the Fenway shows that are happening next week, we've got Jenny Sperandeo, our head of radio, is going to be dealing with all the radio stations in New England, which is a lot of stations, with all different contests and all different fan experiences around the Fenway shows. And then we've got Matt, our GM, runs all of our touring stuff. We have Greg Seam, our internet guy, who you know real well, handling all the social media and online and e-commerce stuff. So we...
it's such an interesting approach. I mean, I guess it makes a lot of sense, you know, that pure indie record labels have a really hard time. You know, it's just a tough market today. So you guys have, it's really diversified into a bunch of different things. So not, you know, how does, if I work there and I'm one of those 10 people and I've got management clients and label clients and I want to play songs on television, like how am I prioritizing my day?
You know, we have a meeting every morning and we talk about our priorities and what we're doing. I mean, with these guys, it's been like, it's literally like getting thrown off the side of a ship into the raging sea, and in a really great way, because, you know, we were ready for it. These guys who are in the middle of an album cycle with the Shamrock and Roll Tour launching out of Fenway and tour dates all over the world. But it is sometimes challenging. Sometimes in the middle of the day, I need to go and like eat a banana and sit down and like put my hands on the ground and like just get myself together, because there's a lot of traffic in our office. But the fact is that everybody in any business these days is having to work twice as hard just to sustain. And we're lucky that we're able to do that, because there's a lot of people out there who can't do that. And I don't take that for granted.
Right. So let's talk about the Shamrock and Roll Tour. So the Fenway shows are the kickoff of that. You know, are you calling it a festival? What?
You know, the Fenway shows were kind of more just ourselves, and we asked the Mighty Mighty Bosstones to play with us, and kind of, I don't know, Aerosmith and Jay Giles had done last year, and us and the Bosstones were like, we should do the younger version of that.
Right.
Although some of the Bosstones, it's not that much younger.
Right.
Oh, just had to give that shot at Dickie. But anyway, you know, so, and then after that show was long sold out, and we were working on this other tour, Shamrock and Roll, we decided to kind of add some elements of it, because, you know, most of the bands on that tour would say, do we get to play Fenway? And it's, oh, I don't know, you know, because we didn't know if we could pull off the logistics. And
Tell us a little bit about the tour, like how many shows?
Yeah, the logistics, well, the shows are, I think it's 10 or 12 shows after Fenway, and the logistics are basically, you know, running 2 stages, 4 main stage acts, electric, 3 side stage acts, acoustic, which will be a local act in every city. The Parkington Sisters, which is a great band from the Cape Cod, Mass, and Chuck Reagan on the side stage, and then the Mahones from Canada, the Street Dogs, which feature our original singer, and Stiff Little Fingers from Belfast, which is a big influence on the Dropkick Murphys, and honored to have them along, and then us.
That's kind of amazing.
You know, and then we're bringing Mickey Ward, the boxer, who's a great friend of ours, on the tour, and he's going to do a little autograph signing in a boxing demo just with a speed bag, and some local boxers that'll come down and do some pad work with him and stuff. We got a magician. We're just turning it into like a 3-ring circus, you know, and it's all for the price of the same thing that we would normally tour for. We just said, you know, let's give, our fans have been so loyal to us, let's do something different for their sake, for our sake. You know, let's have bands that we love and want to share the stage with us, and you know, bring stuff to go on in between the bands. You know what I mean? To be able to see and meet Mickey, and to, you know, we just have a lot of other stuff going on. So we'll see how it goes. But you know, we're excited about it, because I know I don't know what's going to go on out in front of the stage, but I know, you know, before and after it's going to be a good time, because we're with a lot of our friends, and I think the fans, you know, they usually like what we like, you know, and so.
And that was one thing I wanted to talk about. I mean, I would like to go back. I don't know how much time we're going to have, so I'm going to kind of work my way there. But you guys have been you know, really fan focused for, you know, really your whole career, but especially as you've sort of done it on your own. I mean, just even the way you're explaining the Shamrock and Roll things, you put it together with your fans in mind. You said, what do we like? What do fans like? Let's do something that we all are just going to go out and have a good time, because that's what works. Like, was there a point at which that went off for you in terms of that switch, or have you always just been that fan focused?
No, I mean, that would have been from first and foremost coming up, you know, through the punk and hardcore scene, where it was, you know, us and you were in this together, you know, and it is amazing how a lot of bands forget that as soon as they get to make their first buck or the venue gets a little bigger. But I don't know, I think it's just a combination of like how we were introduced to music primarily as kids by our idols being, you know, bands that would let you on stage and sing with them and do whatever you wanted. And then secondly to that is just, I think, a little bit of that nature of like how we were raised in Boston. I mean, you know, if I ever got like an ego and wasn't in touch with the fans, I think, you know, I'd have a lot of the guys I grew up with ready to burst the bubble
There's
for me.
There's
You know what I
somebody,
mean?
over there, somebody over there keeping you honest,
Yeah,
huh?
I mean, no, just I think this is the nature of those two, and you know, and like I said, I've got the opportunity from being in a band to meet a lot of my idols as a kid, like on the larger scale, and a lot of times they've let me down, you know what I mean, and haven't had time to talk to me as a fan or to other fans, and I've always known how good it feels to like meet someone that you respect and look up to and have them treat you great, and how bad it feels when it's the other way. So we're always just have that mindset of like, you know, when I see someone at the show, we're like, thank you for giving us a job, you know?
Yeah.
Because we do have the best job in the world to be able to travel and make music for a living. It's like, are you kidding me? You know, and I don't know how it gets lost on anybody, but it definitely doesn't get lost on us. And that has, it's, the irony is that has, you know, so here's been the music business over here on the highway, and we've been plugging away on this dirt road over here, and suddenly, you know, there's a traffic jam or something on the highway, and music has come over to the dirt road, you know, and they say, oh, you guys, so this is, you know, almost makes us look like we're smarter, geniuses at the head of the pioneers, but really it was the only way to do it for us, you know, and that's to tap into your fan base, to know what they want and give it to them. And, you know, like I said, our intentions were to just treat the fans like they deserve to be treated, but it's business, because if people are happy customers, they're going to keep coming back. You know?
Let's talk about that for a second, because I have a theory that I talked about with Mike D and Mark Cates when they were on the show, and they, you know, what I'd said is I really think that those of us who grew up mail ordering records, punk rock records from the back of magazines, understand the future of the music business a lot more than, you know, than people who probably got them through Columbia House, right? Because there is this sense of community and this real niche culture, right, where people, you know, like Jeff Jarvis, who wrote this book, What Would Google Do? He's talked about the move from a mass market to a massive niches, right? And that, I think it plays into exactly what you guys have done. And it is interesting, right? Now you got Lady Gaga selling direct to consumer, but you guys have been going direct to consumer for a long time, and obviously we did it Grand Royal and lots of other DIY from, you know, people before us. So when did you guys, you know, you guys started out on Hellcat. When did you sort of build up your own relationships with your fans?
Well, we started actually before Hellcat. We started out on our own label called Flat Records, which was the very first release the band ever had was a compilation of Boston and San Francisco bands. We had just kind of had this kinship with ourselves and the band The Swinging Utters from San Francisco, and they would kind of give us their friends' records and we'd give them their friends' records, and then we said, you know, let's put something out on a CD. And at that time, The Swinging Utters were, you know, touring internationally, so it was cool. I put it out, and they took it and sold it on the road, so it's like, wow, where are The Swinging Utters tonight? You know, someone might hear 2 of our songs really if they buy that, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's that sense of community in the punk rock world of, like, you know, the band that's made it up a little help the rest of the guys up, you know, and we started pressing our own 45s, and you know, I think what attracted us to the next level with people is that, hey, look at this band, they're creating a buzz for themselves, you know, they're you know, mail ordering themselves, they're taking out the ads in Maximum Rock and Roll or whatever it might be, and you know, doing their own thing. They're not waiting, you know, and not sending out glossy 8x10s in a demo trying to get signed. It's like we never did that.
Yeah.
I mean, we never even sent the records out. We were just like, we're just going to do it. And that led to being attractive to independent labels, and Hellcat signed us pretty early on. And, you know, even though we were on another record company, we always knew that we really ran our business very parallel to them. They did the records, but we very much did everything else ourselves, and whether it was the old-fashioned mailing lists, you know, and literally sending flyers, you know,
right.
or just, you know, or literally just remembering, you know, making sure, you know, every promoter, you knew their name. And I'm not talking about a Live Nation promoter, I'm talking about the kid that's promoting the show with his own money, and then that kid turned into, you know, maybe eventually we were with a larger promoter, but we still had him in that circle in each city as, like, you know, the core friends and fans that supported us, and just kind of, you know, remembering those faces that you see in the front row every night, you know, right. and giving them the respect they deserve for supporting you so passionately. And so in one way or another, we've always been really in touch with the fans, you know, and just just even writing letters back that were never, people would always say, I can't believe I just got a letter and that's handwritten and not, a standard computer thing that you signed, you know, and I would think I'm faster to write it anyway than to type it out on the computer, so it didn't seem like a big deal to me, but people really appreciate that hands-on stuff, they always have, and now even more so. Because
and how has the internet? You said you guys started this really before with your fan base. Before the internet certainly hit critical mass. How has the internet been in terms of a tool for you? Have you found it like, oh, now we can do this better, or do you find it to be less, sort of personal and analog?
I think it's pretty, it's totally different, but I think it's pretty personal if every guy in the band will go on and say monitor the Facebook and someone asks a question, and jump on and say, I might be on my iPhone, waiting for a plane, and someone says, when's the next time you're coming? We answer it,
Yeah.
And, so
that's amazing.
Yeah, it definitely gives you that reach,
and you can do it quickly and easily. You don't have to handwrite it and put it in the post.
I don't know how to tweet though. I'm not going to lie. So he's supposed to teach me how to tweet.
We can teach you that. That could happen right here on the show today.
When the Verizon strike happened in New England a couple weeks ago, Cam was on tour in Germany and I recall it being within an hour of going on stage. Wrote up a message to the fans about the band's position on the strike and the fact that they backed the workers, and he posted it on Facebook, and it got, I don't remember how many likes and how many comments, but it was like 1,500 likes and 600 comments within a few hours.
Right.
So that's the kind of thing back in the handwriting days you couldn't really do that.
Yeah.
And
you can't get your position out there.
for a band that's about something.
Yeah.
Which is a rarity these days. A band that's really about something and a band that really says, like, look, our t-shirts are $20.
Right.
Right? They're not $50 and we're going to back the unions. They're $20.
Right.
They're American made.
And they're American made.
Right. So you guys are making like a nickel on each one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a smart business model. But
we lose $1 on each one.
But this is a band that and I'm new to their world, so I can be very idealistic about it. This is a band who are who they say they are. All the way through. They play. I've never seen a band play a longer show. The first time I went to see them up in Portland, there was something wrong with the show. I know what it was. We were talking so much before the show. He wrote a new set list, but no one told the LD. So the light show and the set list didn't match up.
I didn't tell the other bandmates.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
So we kept, and the lights were too dark, and we couldn't see the set list, and we kept going into the song that would have been there last night, and it was.
So basically, I almost didn't get the gig.
Right,
because of
ruined
that.
the show.
But the thing is, they felt terrible about how this wasn't the best show, so they came back out after half the audience had left. The house lights are on. They came out and did another 2 or 3 songs for the people who were still there. I've never seen something like this. It was incredible. Kept the house lights on the whole time.
It's called Super Secret Second Encore.
I love that.
Right? So, and you get your $20 t-shirt
me.
afterwards,
And so let me ask you I'll ask you, Jeff, about their label, right? So how is it for you as manager / label to work with an artist who has their own label now, and how much of that then falls to you to some degree? Or I'm curious about how your label fits into the picture.
Well, Born and Bred is the label that the guys make their records under, and then the records are licensed to different people around the world to release. So Cooking Vinyl for England and Europe, independent label group here in America, Due Process in Australia, and so forth. So we're really acting as the band's managers, and part of those duties is managing their label, which is the execution is happening by all these other people. And we love it because, we don't like to be in a position where we're sort of sitting there saying, Mother, may I? Because that sucks.
Yeah.
We have, we really manage relationships. So we would rather pick up the phone and call MTV or VH1 directly, or call the retailers directly, call Scott Register at Sims directly. And to some degree, when you have a situation like Born and Bred, you're in a much better position to do that because it's the band's label, and they've done a label services deal with somebody to execute for them. You're not signed to a label where you're going to offend the general manager and the president and the product manager. Remember those days?
Yeah.
Where people would sit and argue about things, and then you'd realize, man, 2 weeks has gone by and nothing has happened.
Yeah. Yep.
And so it puts us in a position of constant action, which is something we really enjoy.
Any other comments from you on the? I'm definitely. I feel like we don't have enough time to go into as much detail as I would like, but I'm curious. You know, what the genesis of the label was, and I'm also just curious. Has it been a good experience for you as a band, kind of running a label? Do you feel like it takes away from what you're trying to do as a band at all?
No, I mean, I'd like to say that we've had good help with that. You know what I mean? And we know it's not Flat Records anymore in the basement, and I'd be in the funny farm if I tried to run it that way. But we always like to be that band that was in control of their own destiny, and not to be a band. I mean, how many bands have you heard that it's our label's fault? And in many cases, it is the label's fault.
Yeah, you got your own label. There's no one else.
Yeah,
there's no one to blame.
There's no one to blame. So you're putting it squarely on yourself, you know, and we like that, and it puts pressure on us, and we like the independent nature of being able to do what we want to do. We've never in the history of the band had anybody walk into a room. When I hear stories of other bands say it, you know, someone from a record company walking in a room making a comment on how they should make a song, and it blows my mind. I couldn't even imagine it, you know. And I mean, when we were on Hellcat, we used to always joke, we got to make a record on a boombox someday and just send it to them, because I think they'd press it and put it out. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean it as like they trusted us, you know.
Yeah.
And so now with Born and Bred, man, it's one thing if it's in the U.S., but if you don't have help to coordinate just internationally a simultaneous release on 5, 6, 7, 8 different imprints, that alone is a daunting task, and there's a lot of little, you know, things that have to be right, you know, artwork, everything, delivery of masters on time, and we need the help. But by the same token, more than anything, the fact that we really don't have to answer to someone else on an international level. Like if we did sign to a larger label here in America, and they are telling us about how our business needs to work in Australia, when they've never been to a show with us in Australia, they don't know what the fans want in Australia. You know, that's where, you know, it's such a global market, but it's such in different territories with different animals everywhere. And you know, when one thing changes, another thing reverts back the other way. You know, and I feel like it's been interesting how, you know, you do need that separation, because there's so much more. It's not one label that can say, oh, we have this release and we're going to focus on the world. It's like, well, wait a minute, Germany might have 100 releases that week, and you know, it's such a big world, and so many releases and so much music out there. It's just you need all the help you can get, but at the same time, if you can keep those core decisions of how some of the major money is going to be spent and decisions like that in your own hands, it's the best of both worlds, you know.
So my next question was actually going to be about money. I'm curious to hear from an artist perspective, like when you look at all of the ways that you know, you guys earn income, records, live. I want to talk about film and TV in just one second. You know, how do you, if you had to stack rank them, what are the most important parts of the business of music today for Dropkick Murphys?
Well, I think merchandising probably has the least amount of overhead, so to speak, other than the fact that, you know, the product itself. But you know, to make that happen has always been good for the band, in the sense that I feel like that's where our fan says, like, I'm buying that T-shirt to support the band I like. They know that's, you know what I mean. They know that that's where the band almost earns their living. And that's been great for us, you know.
I also think, though, that, and I think you're being slightly humble there, because it shows that they identify with you. They want you to be part of their image.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I definitely think that it's they want to share in the image, but I also think that there is a common knowledge in the fans that, like, you know, this is, you know, maybe it's also because, you know, we don't have some semi rolling up with you know, 2 old Hell's Angels selling our stuff, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a buddy of ours, young kid, you know, and it's like, it's not sourced out to some other company, and I think they understand that, and they see the same face, that kid with us every time, and
right.
you know, he better be treating the customer with a lot of respect, or he's in big trouble. And you know, because oftentimes he's the only guy that actually talks to every, you know, fan at a given show.
All right, so merchandise we're putting up top.
Yeah, I'd say merchandise. At this point, touring, obviously, I mean, because without touring, there's no merchandise, you know. But touring is just so laden down with expenses. I mean, the cost of fuel, you know what I mean? And you know, we're a big band, so there's 2 buses, and you know, oftentimes with the low ticket price we tour at, even on a big tour, touring can be almost a a barely break-even proposition sometimes. Especially if you're trying to do, oftentimes we'll use shows that we do earn good money at to pay to enable us to get to markets that we need to build on, or really aren't great paydays, but we know there's fans there that want to see us. So touring is like what the machine is. That's what gives the employees jobs, our crew, keeps everyone working and stuff, and hopefully continues to spin off album sales as well. Album sales is just like everybody says. I don't even know anymore really. We've been smart as business-wise. We've recouped on every record we ever done in music. And that doesn't mean we necessarily sold a lot, but we never spent a lot to make money. We never took tour support when we didn't need it. Slept on people's couches and did it. A bunch of guys in a hotel room flipping for who got the bed. Till not that long ago. That used to be the most exciting part of the night, by the way, the flip, because none of us would share a bed together. So we'd all have to flip, and two guys would be lucky enough to get the bed, and it was a massive moment when you won the flip. But nowadays, so we've always been smart and never lived beyond our means. And it's funny to be interesting to be watching some of the bands that were your peers and stuff, and they roll by you in a bus and you're in a beat up old van, but we knew enough to say, like, you gotta pay, someone's gonna pay for that, and then a year later they're saying, what the hell, I'm broke, we can't afford to be a band anymore. That's what people don't realize. It's like, it is a business, you gotta keep it open, and sometimes if a band might be perceived to be doing well and drawing good numbers, but they're in debt, it becomes a bleak look at the future of like, why am I going to do this if I'm going to keep going out to just keep paying back the record company,
Right.
And I think they should be held responsible if they spent unwisely, but a lot of times if people don't have good management and don't have a good sense for the business, they don't know what how to get from point A to point B.
Yeah, you're out there, you're living on tomorrow. You're hoping it works.
That's why most people are musicians, so they don't have to deal with that crap.
Exactly.
We kind of came from a different world where we were already like in mid-20s when we started the band, had worked real jobs, had just kind of like music. I never viewed any of us as like musicians for life. We were like just like Joe Schmoes who stumbled upon playing music,
Well, and I have a question that relates to that. I'm going to come back and finish with that. I have one question in between for you guys. One thing we didn't talk about, we opened with the clip from The Departed, which is an incredible look, right? For that scene to open and then your track to kick in. It's a crucial element in the scene, really. And you've had other placements as well. Fighter, and what are some of the others?
Restrepo. The Fowley Brothers movie about the Red Sox with Drew Barrymore. Hello.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No?
Any help?
Right.
Any help from the gallery? I'm gonna get in trouble for that.
I'm sorry, man. I put you on the spot. But how? Like, I'm guessing when we're looking at 4 million albums sold over the course of your career and 600,000 just over the last 3, that those placements have played a role in getting people outside of Boston to know who you are and build that following. How important a part do you think that's been, both to gathering fans and to just earning a living?
I think it's just another form of the income stream when you talk about earning a living, but for us it's always been more of a way to just, much like aligning ourselves with the Red Sox or anything else we might do outside what used to be the normal. We and I probably shouldn't say this because I don't want people lowballing us after this, but
wait a minute.
we've always
Intervene.
we've always tried to take the mentality when it comes to licensing of like, let's be easy to work with. We own our masters, so you're going to be able to get it if it works out, be signed off on quick, and not be unreasonable. We're not the less is more model has worked for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not to say we give away what we've worked hard to create. However, we do have a lot of repeat business with people that say, man, that band was easy to work with. They were grateful. And you just, they're happy to have worked with us, and then it leads to like a second license, and it's a great way to people to hear the music. Absolutely. The Departed, people heard that, everywhere and beyond, but and oftentimes in terms of how it affects your career. I really think it's more so than just the license. It's how it's used. I mean, I'm the pessimist in the band that always tries to keep it. That was all right. And when we went to the local premiere of The Departed, and that kicked on, and it was loud, and I was. I remember we were in one episode of The Sopranos, and I was watching it. I was kind of tired, but I was watching it. And I'm waiting to hear the song, and then the phone rings, and my friend's like, "Did you hear it?" And I was like, "I never even heard it."
Yeah,
It was so low, but The Departed was like, bam, and then Scorsese came off after the award and thanked the Dropkick Murphys. I almost,
That's pretty incredible.
coughed
That
up
is
a lung
incredible.
then, And
It's like they got like Mickey Ward is their homie, Bruce Springsteen's on the new album, Scorsese's name checking them.
can I
That's
call
pretty
him,
cool.
Can I
is
call
pretty
him
cool.
Marty?
You gotta
now?
call him Marty. Let's do it.
So let me ask you, because
Yeah.
we do need to wrap up in a minute here. But for you guys, you guys have gone deep into the licensing world, where you guys are actually representing large catalogs that you don't represent as management or label, and you're just doing placement. So you clearly see this as a big
That's
part of the
incredible.
business.
Well, when you see the Dropkick Murphys play, you look at these 7 dudes, right? 7 dudes. And you go like, these guys couldn't be playing anything else but this music, right? Like they are their music, right? We know plenty of bands where they're just trying to have like a radio-friendly unit shifter.
Right.
And if it doesn't work out, they'll go on to the next band. And when somebody puts a song like Shipping Up to Boston into a movie scene, what they're getting is they're getting the ethos of the Dropkick Murphys. It's like dropping a grenade into the scene.
Right.
And that carries through, and Silver Sun Pickups are the same way. Seawolf is the same way. I mean, Darker My Love, these bands we work with, Eagles of Death Metal. It's like a bonanza for licensing. Because what they do is they bring something to the picture that wasn't there, just with the words and the script and the actors and all that. And in the case of The Departed or Restrepo, it's like this just adds to the sort of mystique of the band. People want in on that, right? Because a lot of times people are going to say, like, look, I've got $40 to spend on going to see music this month. Well, how am I going to spend it, right? And they want in on what the Dropkick Murphys have going on because they just saw that movie on HBO or whatever. Like, that's a powerful thing, and you never know where that's going to come up. We have always been into licensing. Way back when you and I met, when I was like a one-man operation, I was way into licensing back then before everyone in town was into licensing, And this band that I came up with, Citizen King, we had all of the music in the premiere episode of Malcolm in the Middle. And I sat with Julie Houlihan, who was the music soup, on that show. That show turned out to be one of the biggest hits of the 90s.
Right.
At the time, you had no idea what it was. It was like some goofy show, right? And the show ran right after the Super Bowl on Fox, and then they reran it twice in the following 2 weeks. And that was in like 98, 99. Someone's going to look it up on Wikipedia and tell me, no, it was in 2000. But it was right around there.
Yeah.
And so I've been in on that game for a long time. And I just, by the way, I'm a kid from a basement in Milwaukee. I think licensing is cool. It's fun. It's exciting. It's like you talk about your mom or your grandmother going like, when are you going to finish college? What's up? Like, licensing gets your music. It's like radio. It's like radio used to be. More people are snuggling up on the sofa watching TV at night than they are snuggling up in front of a radio trying to hear a new band.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, they're not going to hear because all they play is recurrent stuff from the 90s now.
Right.
Sorry to be a pessimist, but it's true.
Well, and I'll stop you there, but I'd really like for you to come back and talk just about Danger Bird.
Can I bring a baseball bat?
Yeah.
Just for effect. I'll get one at Fenway this week.
That'd
okay?
be great.
Just get the little one, those little.
Yeah,
You can be-
exactly.
And you can be the
Not
angry
just-
pessimist. We could have like
No,
a pinata of some
I'm
kind.
actually an optimist, but I do like to talk smack about radio.
Yeah.
Thanks.
What's that? Fever
Fever
Pitch.
pitch. It's right on the tip of my tongue.
This Zoe Rogers is going to be joining us in just a moment.
Yeah.
And she has Google on her phone. That's what we just learned right
What's
there.
Google?
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that next time when you're on. And I also would like to talk about Poblove next time as well,
That'd
which
be
is
great.
an organization that you run. You guys have something coming up, right? Is it
We do. We have our 3rd annual Poblove Across America bike ride this year. It's from Milwaukee to New Orleans. We're ending at the Voodoo Experience Music Festival in New Orleans, and I can't leave without
And
saying.
this year I'm riding on the handlebars.
Yes, but the Dropkick Murphys also have a foundation, and I can't let you kick us out before he talks about the Claddagh Fund.
What is it?
Thanks.
Yeah, you know.
The band has our own foundation that we started 2 years ago. I think the nature of just the kind of roots of the Boston thing, we've been lucky enough to be involved in a lot of charity stuff, anything from performing to showing up to auction items, you know. I don't think you can go to an auction, an event in Boston and not have a signed CD. I don't know who doesn't not have a signed CD now. But
The value steadily staying the same.
Like,
but,
you know, I gave him a couple Butter 08 CDs and like a Biss 12-inch autograph. No big deal.
But you know, we started when the Bruins played the Winter Classic at the ice hockey game on New Year's Day. That's outside. It was at Fenway Park, and we did a family skate for that. And we've done, like, we had Rotten Tomatoes karaoke where celebrities sing karaoke. People throw tomatoes at them, and I went first and let the closer for the Red Sox, Jonathan Papelbon, hit me in the head with a 90-mile-an-hour tomato, which was not the best idea, but anything for the kids, basically.
Really, truly dangerous.
It's a good premise for a music video. We gotta talk about that after this.
Well, actually, that's kind of a music video for the song Going Out in Style. It's got a similar vibe because all the celebrities in that keep getting hit with snowballs.
Good idea.
So I don't know where that came from, but next week we have our charity golf tournament that is hosted by the world's greatest hockey player ever, Bobby Orr. Not too biased as a Bruins fan, but so we just try to, we've raised $750,000 now in 2 years, and a lot of times, man, it's our fans, it's kids with their last $5.
Right.
Not a lot of big-time corporate money put behind it, although we will accept that. Cladderfund.org.
That's what I was going to say. So, yeah, tell people the URL and do the same.
Yeah, cladderfund.org, CLADDAGHFUND for all you non-Irishmen that can't spell that word.
And Pavlov?
And our foundation is PABLOVE.org.
Awesome. I have one more question for you guys before I let you out of here. And it's a little open-ended, so go wherever you want to with it, or feel free to punt if I'm putting you on the spot. But there's a bunch of people who watch this show who are up-and-coming artists. They're looking to figure out how they sort of take their first step. When you encounter people who are just getting started, what's the best advice you can give somebody today?
Press your own 45. Take an ad out in a local punk rock magazine. No, I don't know what to do because what I did, it was so archaic. It's interesting. We were just talking about that earlier. People ask me all the time, my son has a band, can you give him advice? And they say, don't listen to me. I don't know what to do nowadays. I mean, I think just as long as you get the heart behind it and you're doing it, no matter what. I'm not going to wait for someone else to help me. We'll book a show at the library if we have to. I don't know, you know what I mean? And don't wait for other people to decide whether you should make it as a musician or not, Yep.
So the common thread between the Dropkick Murphys and my path, right, is what he said earlier. They didn't wait for anybody. And really, that's the simplest way for me to say how I arrived at starting Danger Bird 8 years ago, which is like I just couldn't wait anymore, And when I graduated high school in 1990, I went to WMSE, the college station in Milwaukee, and I signed up to be a DJ, and I got my FCC permit, and I rode my bike with a backpack full of vinyl and CDs to and from the station, and my shift started at midnight on Sunday night, so it was dark out.
Right.
And then I got into being a music journalist, and I became a music editor at a weekly paper that didn't even have a music section yet, and I got involved in promoting concerts at Marquette University. Then I started managing a band, and I was their manager, their agent, their accountant, hanging up posters on the telephone pole. I was the roadie, right? I was the guy sleeping on the floor because I wasn't in the band.
They didn't let you in the flip?
No.
See, we let the crew in the flip.
So that's my answer.
Picture him at that.
If you want to do it, then you got to do it. You can't just talk about it. You got to be it. And I know you for a long time, and that's exactly how you've come up.
I was just thinking as you guys are talking, I don't think there's a single person who's been on this show who hasn't been I don't really give a shit who says I can have it or not. I'm gonna go get it.
That's right.
Kind of person, and I think that is. It's those people that have that hunger that end up in these chairs.
You gotta have it because, especially now, man, it's tough. It's very tough. I mean, the world economy is not in a great place. People are over-messaged to death. Every foundation, every band, everybody's got something going on, and you can't be afraid to push the send button on a tweet or on a Facebook post. You can't be afraid you're over-messaging to your crew. You just got to be smart about it. You got to be cool, you know?
Yeah.
And there's a difference between over messaging and being strategic about getting your word out to people, because you know, the road is littered with lazy people. You know, you can't be one of those people.
Thank you guys so much. Thanks for coming out all the way from
pleasure.
Boston just to do this
Thanks
week
for
in
flying
music.
me on the private
Yeah,
jet.
man. And I'm gonna make you come back to talk
I'm
about
down.
Danger Bird.
As long as you got almonds, dude, I'm here.
We got so many almonds up in this piece.
Sponsored by almonds.
Welcome. The Almond Council of California. So we're going to stick with a Boston theme, and coming up just in a second, we're going to have the general manager of Cambridge, Cambridge 88.1 FM WMBR is going to join us to talk about some music. Welcome back. So that was a clip by a band that is going to be talked about in just a moment. Keeping with the Boston theme today, I actually have almost nothing to do with Boston, but I do have on this Boston Skate Shop shirt today. Dropkick Murphy's in today, and we're joined now by the general manager of WMBR 88.1 on your FM dial if you are in Boston, a very long-running show called Breakfast of Champions, where you will hear her in the mornings there. It is Zoe Rogers. Zoe also happens to be my daughter.
Yes.
And she's about to be a senior at
MIT.
At MIT, and she leaves back for Boston tomorrow. But Zoe has had a radio show since she was 13 years old.
Yes.
Put on the air by our good friend Dave Conway, who used to have a pirate radio station here in LA called Little Radio.
Yes.
Dave now runs the Railroad Revival Tour and is based out of Austin. But Zoe has had a radio show pretty much nonstop since 13 years old. So you know,
8 years.
This whole music thing, you know, you were
genetic,
and you were inundated with it your whole life. So, but I thanks for coming on. This is, I know you can't bear to watch my show, so I'll just tell you about it.
Okay, good.
This is the part of the show where we talk about the part of the music industry that actually matters, which is the music.
Right.
Yeah. Instead of
None
just
of this boring business nonsense.
No,
Okay.
about how do you make money with music. Ugh, come on. But so I know you to be a gigantic music lover. So here's the question,
Yes.
which you've already given away the answer to. What is your favorite album of the summer?
So, my favorite album of the summer was a close race between the Colts album,
Which your little sister loves too, by the way.
Yes, which Lucinda loves, and then this album by a band called Givers. It is Givers and not The Givers.
Okay.
I always call it The Givers when I announce it on my show, but it's in fact just Givers in all caps.
Right.
And
I'll give the music industry spin on this. This
Yeah.
is the next album that is on the same label as Mumford and Sons and Phoenix. So it's being the same people
Right.
who have made those pretty amazing stories happen are behind Givers.
cool. So this album is called In Light.
Okay.
And it's just cover to cover fantastic, and it's fun to listen to because the songs are all different. Unlike, I mean, I love the Colts album, but it all sounds pretty much the same, and it's great. But this Givers album is all, you know, every song is different, and the melodies are different, and the instrumentation is different, and they switch back and forth between girl singer and boy singer. And so I just love it, and you know, I've been basically listening to it on repeat for about 2 months now. So.
I have to say, the first time I heard the record was when you and I were in the car the other night, and it really did sound great. And I hadn't listened to it yet, but I saw them at Bonnaroo this year, and it was definitely. It was in the top 3 things I saw the whole weekend.
Because didn't you say that you didn't even know who they were?
I didn't know who they were. I just had a friend who said, you got to go see the Givers. They weren't even on one of the main stages. They were in kind of the beer tent stage that gets set up in the middle. And it was unbelievable. They're really, 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 like if you get a chance to see Givers live, you have to see them live.
Yeah, I just looked on their tour schedule and they're not coming to Boston.
How is that possible?
I don't know. I missed them. They were there this summer and I missed them. But yeah, no, I have to thank so I do Breakfast of Champions on Mondays, but I alternate with another girl from my school, and she was in the record library one day, and I was like, what are you listening to? She said, you have to rip this Givers album. And so I took it and listened to it, so Rebecca, thanks for that, because I wouldn't have maybe found that otherwise. But it's so good, and I was reading about them, and they're like, they went to music school in New Orleans, so they're like influenced by that music scene and Cajun music, and the girl percussionist is so rad.
She's
and
really something on stage too.
So yeah, no, super cool band.
So Givers, tell me the name of the album again.
In Light.
In Light, just go buy it. Come on, support them.
The band.
And I will, to make up for the fact that Zoe ripped it from the radio station.
That's one of the many perks of being the GM or being a member of WMBR, is you get music early and often.
Yes. So, and if you are in the Boston area, to be sure you listen to 88.1, where Zoe works, in addition to being a student there. And if you aren't in Boston, you can still listen to it. Go online, WMBR.org, and you can get the streams, including the archives of Zoe's show. So thanks a lot, Zoe, for coming by. I don't know if you guys noticed, but behind me sometimes you've been seeing the Billboard logo, Billboard magazine. There you go, look at that. I felt really powerful. But we are very lucky and fortunate to have a relationship with Billboard now, and so if you happen to be watching clips from the show on billboard.biz, thank you very much, and thank you very much to Billboard. We try to keep that going and spread what we're doing here far and wide. Also, please be sure you check us out online. Go to thisweekin.com/music, and from there you can subscribe to us on YouTube, subscribe on iTunes, including the audio version, so you can listen in the car without crashing, and listen while you're in the gym or on a run or whatever it is you like to do. Maybe you're on the crew team in rowing in the Charles, and you would like to listen to This Week in Music. I think that would be a fine idea and Boston-centric. But please, follow us on Twitter and help us spread the word. Appreciate it. If you don't mind just taking the link to this show and sharing it on Twitter or Facebook right now, I'd appreciate it. That's it from us. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next week.
I feel good, even though I shouldn't. I'm chilling so hard, couldn't tell you where the hood is. I'm looking like a million.